Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to my sisters and my brothers. We're looking at the subject of spirituality and its application in our daily life, using the power of spirituality to help us make life smoother, more comfortable for ourselves and others around us. And now, I'd like to look at the subject of how to have self-esteem. One of the universal problems that exists at the present time is a question mark about identity. All of us, wherever it is we live, whoever it is we may be, yet it seems to be a time when we're all having a crisis of identity. Perhaps it's because there's so much impact of global information in our lives that it becomes confusing knowing exactly who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing, what my responsibilities are. We get many, many mixed messages that come to us from all these different directions. It's also become a time when the paradigms we used to live with seem to have fallen, and we haven't yet been given a stable base, a foundation for a global consciousness or a paradigm that works for us now. The support systems that we used to have, such as family, religion, for example, they don't seem to work anymore in the same way. And so we find ourselves without an anchor. And that's also added to the whole question of identity crisis. Given the fact that we don't know who we are, or our vision of ourselves keeps shifting from one goalpost to the next. Little surprise then that we're not able to have value for ourselves or confidence in ourselves or true self-esteem. If I'm to be able to value myself, surely I need to know who I am, and I need to be comfortable with my own identity. And in that state, then I can be stable in that state of self-esteem. Due to lack of self-esteem, we've created many, many artificial supports around ourselves. Sometimes we take the support of culture, country, nationality, religion, gender. We take support of other human beings so that it becomes a situation of dependency, codependency. It comes to a situation where there's so many confusing issues of emotion within a family that most families today are probably dysfunctional. Many years ago, when I heard the statement that 99.9% of all human beings are codependent, it made me stop and think. And in those days, certainly it wasn't something that was acceptable to everyone. But today, at this point, I think most people would acknowledge that, yes, it's probably very close to the truth. My understanding is that all of these factors arise out of that situation of a lack of self-esteem. On another level, a global issue and the whole subject of discrimination. My understanding of that too is that there's a direct connection with discrimination and self-esteem. There's been research done at various universities that indicates that when an individual has self-esteem, there's less discriminatory behavior towards others. And when there's low self-esteem, there's higher incidence of discrimination. Look around your own community, your own city, and further out. Look around in the world and you'll see that this seems to be borne out. discrimination seems to be increasing continually, even though on another level, one would say that we've become a global village, and so in fact barriers should have broken down and we should have been able to come closer to one another. Yet the reality is that across the world, we hear a new term now, ethnic cleansing. It's directly connected with discrimination, of course, but on a spiritual level, one would say that it's connected also with lack of understanding of identity and lack of self-esteem. In the situation of today, one can see that it's absolutely vital to come to a point where I know myself, I'm comfortable with myself, I'm able to respect myself, love myself, and then in that case, I can also extend those same qualities to others and give love to others and respect to others also. Where I don't love myself, I'm not going to be able to love others around me. I'm going to be demanding their love, but I'm not going to be able to give them any love. The same thing applies with respect. Where I have respect for myself, I'm going to be able to respect others around me. And where I don't respect myself, then my relationship with others is going to be without any sign of that respect. And again, look at it from the personal outwards, and you can see how the core value of respect has been lost. Where I don't respect myself, I don't respect this precious vehicle, this instrument that nature, the divine, has given me, this body of mine. And because of lack of respect for this body, we then abuse or misuse this physical body. We are not able to look after it properly and keep it in a state of good health and good repair. My lack of respect then extends to my family, my friends, my colleagues. The conditions in families or even schools and colleges and universities or even places of work today is marred distinctly with this feeling that there isn't any respect for people anymore. It extends out further into the whole globe, where we see that the value for human life, the respect for human life has disappeared. A few years ago, it felt as if a barrel of oil was more valuable than a human life. I refer to the situation of the Gulf War, and human lives were not as important as a barrel of oil at that point. And so what is the value we have of human lives? It moves further from myself to the things outside. I don't respect the laws of the country in which I live. Again and again, you hear of people evading the law, trying to pretend that they're following it, but in fact, they're moving behind it. They're finding ways in which to evade it, whether it's in situations of tax or whether it's in situations of driving, whatever it may be. The respect for the law definitely has disappeared. We don't respect the environment, the world around us, and so we've broken all the code of conduct of the natural laws around us too. We're no longer following the laws that allow us to keep our planet clean and healthy. We've been in such a state that we've forgotten that there are laws governing life here on the planet, and we've aggressed all those laws. We've forgotten about God's laws, the laws of spirituality, and very basic, simple concepts such as the law of karma. Whatever it is I do, the return of that is going to come right back to me. We forget that in day-to-day situations or in important cosmic situations. So this thing about lack of self-respect isn't just a question of self-development or something for people of leisure or people who want to explore things in airy-fairy space, but it's actually something that's having repercussions on every single aspect of our life and civilization. And the breakdown of civilization in the ways that civilization really should exist can be traced back to this factor of loss of identity, loss of understanding, loss of self-esteem. And so the first step to come back to the awareness of who I truly am. Spirituality teaches me that this body is a costume. I, the actor, the living being, adopt this costume to play my role on the stage. There's another way of looking at it. This body is my vehicle, my chariot, and I, the soul, located here, am the driver in charge of this chariot, this vehicle. And as such, it's my responsibility to use this chariot for good in the right way, but also to be able to care for this chariot. In this awareness of that being that is within, and coming back to the subject of I am that being of light, the soul. Sometimes we use this expression, my soul. But no, in fact that's the topsy-turvy situation. Who is speaking if I say my soul? The reality is that I, the soul, and my body. And so the first step towards self-esteem, to come back to the awareness of I, the point of light, the eternal being, occupying this vehicle. The second aspect of self-esteem. Not only am I a soul, but I, the soul, am a child of the Creator, a child of the Divine. There's no ego connected with this, because just as I am a child of the Divine, so are you, so is every other human being. And so my vision of respect moves from beyond just my own respect for myself, but extends out to everyone else in the human family. When I forget that I'm a child of God, it's not possible for me to know that you are my sister and my brother. I'm not able to see you as my human family. And so, coming back to the awareness of being a child of God, then I know that I'm part of this unlimited global family, and each and every soul is a child of the Supreme, of the Creator. I begin to ask myself a question. When I have this feeling of closeness to God, this relationship of God, my parent, what does that actually mean? It means that whatever are the qualities of God are also the qualities of the child. Just as a child in a very natural way resembles and reflects the parents, not just in physical features, but very often in characteristics or attitudes. Similarly, the child of the Supreme is actually in the original state a reflection of the qualities of the Supreme. It's been said that we were created in the image of God. If I come to that faith and awareness that just as God has qualities of truth and beauty, I too, somewhere within all the layers of dust that have covered up those qualities, yet in fact below all those layers, there is that original truth and original beauty within the self. Through meditation, through that experience of relationship with God, I again remember that. I again emerge that quality. I again become the embodiment of those attributes. It's possible to remove all the dust, all the dirt, and emerge those same qualities and be truly the reflection of the Supreme. As I begin this journey, I recover the esteem that I used to have for myself. This method enables me to not just come back to a state of self-esteem, but in reality to come back to the original pure beauty of the soul, so that I'm sharing that and expressing that in interaction with others. Another factor which has been a reason for moving away from self-esteem has been the divergence between conscience and life. At the point where my conscience is telling me what I should be doing, and yet I disobey, and I begin to do other things in my life, then that divergence means that I'm not able to have dignity within myself. I'm not able to hold my own head up high. I'm not able to have self-esteem. Through meditation, I begin to develop that inner power, that strength, so that I do follow the dictates of my conscience, the laws of God, the laws of spirituality in my life, and so my self-esteem begins to grow. And to whatever extent I follow through the voice of my conscience in my life, to that extent I develop my own inner confidence and dignity also. My life can be an inspiration, an example for others, that as a human being, it is possible to actually follow the path of truth and reflect God's qualities in one's life. Some of the things that have happened in our life have contributed to this loss of self-esteem. We haven't had a secure, functional family which has given us that care and love, and so our confidence in ourselves broke. At this point, coming back to the awareness of God as the parent, the mother and the father, and experiencing the security, the love, the care and the protection that God has to offer, I'm able to deal with that again, and I'm able to come back to a state of self-esteem once more. The nurture, the sustenance from God is infinite, tireless. A human mother will give love, but at some point of time will run dry. But God, the Supreme Mother, will give unconditional love and support, to that extent that I don't need to seek support from others, but rather I can be an instrument to give them love and strength also. In the state of self-esteem, where I fill myself with everything that God has to offer, I become free from dependencies, whether it's dependencies on possessions. So often where there isn't self-esteem, I surround myself with cars, with houses, with wealth, thinking that this is going to be my support. In a subtle way, I don't understand it, but that's what I'm trying to do. Create my security net through external possessions. Dangerous, because there's never going to be contentment. I'm never going to have enough to actually feel satisfied that, yes, now I can be secure. I'm constantly going to need feeding and need more and more to have the same feeling. And so it's an exercise which is endless. But the other thing is that today I have possessions, and who knows tomorrow what may happen. Maybe I won't have those possessions. Sometimes we seek contentment and fulfillment and security from our jobs, from our positions. But again, dangerous, because maybe tomorrow I'll find myself in a different position without that. And so I can't depend on possessions, position, or even people. Dangerous. Today I have their support, tomorrow who knows what may happen. And so if I allow God to become my support, God is willing to do this for me. God makes himself available for me. And through access to God and the ability to take everything from the one, I'm able to start creating a state in which I can be free from all the other external supports and have my own inner strength and confidence and self-esteem. I can build my state of independence and freedom through valuing the self, through taking the support that God offers me. Let's spend a moment in silent reflection, in coming to the state of awareness of who I truly am. Sitting quietly, I remind myself, I am not the body. I am the spiritual being, the soul. I, the soul, a being of light, am a child of the Supreme. In this awareness, making contact with the Supreme, God's love, God's strength, God's light fills the soul. I value myself. I value the gifts that God has given me. I value my role. Keeping this awareness, I come back into the awareness of my role on the world stage. But I keep this consciousness of who I am, and I see others with that value and respect, seeing the intrinsic dignity of every human being. Om Shanti.